Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon. Spoilers. Watch out, Kyle. Summer pulls out her secret weapon, Grandpa Victor. The Young and the Restless spoilers show that Summer Newman, Allison Lanier, isn't going to stop when it comes to Harrison Abbott, Redding Munsell. While he is the biological son of Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller, as far as we know, Summer seems to believe that she has all the same rights that Kyle does when it comes to Harrison. It has turned into a nightmare for Kyle, and he doesn't know what to do about Summer and her aggressive calls for custody. He's looked for help and has leaned on Claire Grace, Haley Aaron, throwing all of this only to have all of it thrown in his face by Summer whenever she gets the chance. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Victor Newman has entered the chat. Unfortunately for Kyle, he has to worry not only about Summer, but also about the entire Newman clan. At the head of that family stands Victor Newman, Eric Braden, and if the last few decades have shown us anything, it's that he can get stuff done. He could manufacture documents, change test results, or plain and simply get rid of Kyle, all for the love of his granddaughter. It may come down to a point where Kyle has to decide if it's even worth it here, or if he will run away with Harrison and avoid Geno City for as long as possible. If I were him, I would consider just leaving the States and going overseas with Harrison, escaping Summer and her wacky family. Spoilers. Victor Newman calls in a favor. We think we could easily be on the verge of seeing Victor make another phone call where he has some off-screen tough guys do some of his dirty work. Whether it's any of the aforementioned ideas or if he just wants to scare Kyle a little bit, we're not sure, but we know that Kyle should get some eyes on the back of his head. Another unfortunate thing for Kyle is he happens to be working at Glissade for Victor Newman, so forget all the other sneaky ideas. Victor could easily just kick him to the side of the road without a job and watch him squirm as Summer takes him to the cleaners in court. The Young and the Restless spoilers. What do you think? What will Victor do to Kyle for Summer, and is there any chance that Kyle could get the upper hand on him? Share your thoughts and remember to keep watching the CBS soap to see what happens next. In the opulent yet emotionally fraught world of Geno City, Summer Newman has always been a force to be reckoned with. The daughter of Phyllis Summers and Nick Newman, Summer grew up in the shadow of family legacy, with the blood of the Newmans and the smarts of the Abbotts coursing through her veins. She's no stranger to drama, heartbreak, and the high stakes that come with the territory of being a Newman. But now, facing the biggest challenge yet in her young life, Summer realizes it's time to call in the big guns, her secret weapon, Grandpa Victor. For weeks, Summer had been trying to keep it together. The relationship with Kyle Abbott, the love of her life, had taken a nosedive. It started with little things, late nights at the office, hushed phone calls, and unexplained absences. Kyle's preoccupation with his mother, Diane Jenkins, and the constant tug-of-war with his own family had strained their marriage to the breaking point. Summer had hoped that their love would be enough to weather any storm, but as the days passed, she found herself increasingly isolated and uncertain. One evening, after yet another tense and unsatisfying conversation with Kyle, Summer sat alone in the darkened living room of their penthouse. The moonlight streamed through the windows, casting long shadows on the walls, and Summer felt a pang of loneliness. She knew she had to do something drastic. And in Geno City, when you needed drastic, you called Victor Newman. Victor had always been a formidable presence in Summer's life. To some, he was the ruthless mogul who would stop at nothing to protect his empire. To others, he was the loving grandfather who would do anything for his family. For Summer, he was both. She knew that involving Victor would be like unleashing a storm, but desperate times called for desperate measures. The next morning, Summer made her way to the Newman ranch, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew this conversation wouldn't be easy. Victor was a man of few words, but when he spoke, his words carried weight. As she walked up the path to the front door, memories of her childhood flooded back. Christmases spent at the ranch, summers by the pool, the way Victor would always have a watchful eye on her, even when she was just a little girl. The door opened and there he was, Victor Newman, larger than life, his sharp eyes immediately assessing her. He saw the turmoil in her expression and gestured for her to come inside without a word. They sat in the study, a room filled with books, family portraits, and the scent of rich leather. It was a room that had seen countless deals, confrontations, and confessions. Summer felt the weight of history pressing down on her as she began to speak. "Grandpa," she started, her voice trembling slightly, "I need your help." Victor leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers in front of him. "What's going on, Summer? You look like you've been carrying the world on your shoulders." Summer took a deep breath. "It's Kyle. Our marriage, it's falling apart. I don't know how to save it." Victor's eyes narrowed. He had never been a fan of Kyle Abbott. The young man had always struck him as someone who lacked the fortitude required to be a part of the Newman family. But Summer loved him, and that had been enough, until now. "Tell me everything," Victor said, his voice a mix of concern and steely determination. Summer poured out her heart, telling Victor about Kyle's growing distance, his obsession with Diane, and her fear that their marriage was crumbling beyond repair. Victor listened intently, his expression unreadable. When she finished, Victor remained silent for a moment, contemplating his next move. "Summer," he began, "marriage is never easy, especially in our world. But you're a Newman, and Newmans don't give up without a fight." Summer nodded, her resolve strengthening under her grandfather's gaze. "I can help you," Victor continued, "but you need to understand that once we start down this path, there's no turning back. Kyle needs to be reminded of what's at stake, and who he's dealing with." Summer knew what he meant. Victor was prepared to use every resource at his disposal to protect her and ensure Kyle knew the consequences of his actions. It was a risky move, but Summer had nothing left to lose. If she didn't fight for her marriage now, it would be over. "I'm ready, Grandpa," she said, her voice steady. "Do whatever it takes." Victor nodded, a glint of approval in his eyes. "Good. We'll start by making it clear to Kyle that he's on thin ice. I'll have a conversation with him, man to man. He needs to understand that if he doesn't prioritize his marriage, he'll have to answer to me." Summer knew that a conversation with Victor was not something Kyle would take lightly. Victor had a way of cutting through the nonsense and getting to the heart of the matter, but she also knew that this might only be the beginning. "And Diane?" Summer asked hesitantly. Diane was a thorn in her side, constantly pulling Kyle in different directions and creating tension in their relationship. Victor's eyes hardened. "Diane Jenkins is a problem that needs to be dealt with. She's been a disruptive influence for too long. I'll take care of her too." Summer wasn't sure what taking care of her meant, but she trusted Victor. He had a way of neutralizing threats, and Diane was certainly a threat to her happiness. As the meeting concluded, Summer felt a sense of relief wash over her. She had done what needed to be done. She had called in Victor Newman, and now the wheels were in motion. But as she left the ranch, a small part of her wondered if she had opened Pandora's box. Once Victor got involved, things could spiral out of control quickly. Back at the penthouse, Summer found herself alone again, but this time she felt a flicker of hope. She knew she had made the right decision. Kyle needed to be reminded of what they had, what they could lose if he didn't get his act together. And with Victor in her corner, she had an ace up her sleeve that no one could see coming. The days that followed were tense. Summer could feel the shift in the air, the sense that something big was about to happen. Kyle was on edge, his phone constantly buzzing with messages and calls. He seemed distracted, more so than usual, and Summer knew that Victor had already started making his moves. Then, one evening, Kyle came home, his face pale, his hands trembling slightly. Summer knew immediately that he had spoken to Victor. The look in his eyes was a mix of fear and realization. "Summer," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "we need to talk." Summer nodded, her heart pounding in her chest. This was it, the moment of truth. As they sat down together, Kyle took her hand, his grip tight. "I've been a fool," he admitted, his voice breaking. "I've let everything else get in the way of what really matters, you, us, and I'm so sorry." Summer felt tears welling up in her eyes. She had waited so long to hear those words, to see the sincerity in his eyes. Victor had done it. He had made Kyle see what was truly important. But as Kyle continued to speak, Summer couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. With Victor involved, there would be no half measures. Their marriage might survive the storm, but the aftermath could bring new challenges, ones that neither of them could foresee. Still, for now, they had each other. And with Victor Newman in her corner, Summer knew she had the strength to face whatever came next.